Hey guys, Coach Hallie here. I'm going to teach you what, yep. Just keep it going. All right. Coach Hallie here, guys. I'm going to teach you about literal equations, okay? This is not a very exciting topic. It's something that you would do as a scientist to kind of solve when you have a lot of variables and you're trying to solve in different, for different variables. So a literal equation, okay, it's an equation where variables represent unknown values, okay? Here's the biggest piece, okay? Here's the biggest piece of the puzzle. Solve it just like you would an equation. So if you have an addition, you're gonna do the inverse, the opposite, you're gonna subtract. If you have a multiply, you're gonna divide. If you have divide, you're gonna multiply. So what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other, okay? All right. So I'm going to just kind of walk you back through. We've already done this. It's a two-step equation. If this was my equation, I would take this positive 5 and subtract it from both sides. Okay, so I get 2x equal to 4. Okay, again, that's zeroing out. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Okay, when I do that, the next step is divide by the coefficient. Okay, in this case it's a 2. Okay, so I'm going to divide by the coefficient. You can do that because 2 times x that's the coefficient. Okay, so x equals to 2. All right. Now it's going to be the exact same steps, but we're going to look at it with some symbols. All right, so don't freak out. All right, so we're going to solve for, we're going to solve for x. We're still going to solve for x. So just like we did a minute ago, we subtracted the 5. Well, you have this heart, okay? You're adding a heart. So in this case, you would subtract a heart. Okay, and the reason why I'm showing you with shapes is it doesn't matter what it is as long as you do the inverse, the opposite. Okay, so if you subtract it there, you subtract it here. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the heart. Okay, that's kind of sad, but it's okay. So I'm going to zero this out because if you had something and you took it away, you don't have it anymore. So over here you have a smiley face times an x. Okay, because that's the implied operation there. And then this is a star, my stars aren't that great, minus a heart, okay? And these are not like terms. You can kind of see that they're not like shapes, so they're not like terms, so I can't just combine the two. All right, so I want to get x by itself, and what's happening here is multiply, so I need to divide both sides by the coefficient. In this case, the coefficient is not a number, it's a different symbol, okay? So these still cancel out and you get 1x or x equal to, none of this can simplify. So you have x equals to star minus a heart divided by this right here. So you just solve for x. It looks very different. And again, this is probably one of the hardest things you're going to do. So divide by the coefficient. In this case, is that. All right. Okay, so we're going to kind of go from one form of an equation to another. And the way we're going to do that, you have 2 different variables here. And I want you to solve for y. We're going to talk about solving for y. So in other words, I want y. At the end of the day, I want y by itself. So to do that, I first need to subtract 12x from both sides. Okay? This zeroes out. Some of you are really good about that. Okay? This is a big miss. Don't forget to bring down your negative. You have negative 4y equal to. Here's another big miss. These are not like terms. Okay, again, these are not like terms, so you cannot combine the two. So I personally like to write the 12x first, the x term, but you can do either one. So you can do 20 minus 12x, but I'm going to go ahead and do the negative 12x and then plus 20. And remember, if there's no sign in front of it, it's a positive, okay? All right, your last step to get y by itself, you're going to divide by a negative 4, okay, because that's your coefficient. Here's the tricky part. You're going to divide both pieces by this negative 4, okay? So there's two ways to kind of show it. I would either write it like this, and then you can tell yourself you're going to divide this, but you're also going to divide here. And then you get a negative divided by a negative is a positive 3x. Positive divided by a negative is a negative 5. Okay, so 3x minus 5, and I'm going to just show you another way to do that. So when you divide by this negative 4, I then divide both terms by negative 4. So whichever one is easier for you to show works for me. You're still going to get the same answer. Be careful of your sign. Okay? So we solved this equation for y. Alright guys, just kind of going with another example. We're going to solve this equation for y. So solve for y, meaning I want y equal to and everything else on this side. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line. You cannot combine these two terms. This is an x term and a constant, so you can't combine them. They're not like terms. So what's happening here is 3 times y. So the opposite, do the inverse operation, which is divide. You're going to divide by what's called the coefficient. And you can do that with both terms, okay? If there were 5 terms over here, you'd have to divide by all 5. Okay, so just make sure you get that. 6 divided by 3 is 2x. And negative 18 divided by 3 is negative 6. Again, please be careful of your sign. Look carefully at your sign. All right, another example, solving for y. We're going to solve this equation for y, okay? Meaning I want y by itself. So I'm going to subtract 2x because this is an x and this is a y. They're not like terms. They don't have the same variable or the same power. I'm going to do that to both sides, okay? I zero this out and then I bring down my negative y equal to, I can't combine these are not like terms. So I have negative 2x plus 7. Okay, so that's negative 2x plus 7. Right here, your coefficient is actually a negative 1. So I'm going to divide by the coefficient, which is negative 1. And I'm going to do that to both terms. Okay, so I get y equal to negative divided by negative is a positive 2x. Positive divided by negative, opposite signs, opposite. Okay. Last one. Okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky. I'm going to solve this equation, y equals mx plus b. If you know what it is slope-intercept form, which we will get into later. So I'm going to solve this for x, okay? Meaning I want x on one side and everything else on the other. So in this case, I'm going to subtract the b from both sides because I want to zero this out to bring down the mx, okay? I have y minus b. They're two different terms, so I can't combine them. So I'm just going to write them out, y minus b, okay? The implied operation here, this means m times x. If you need to put the little dot to show the multiplication, you can. So you divide by the m on both sides, okay? So you get x equal to y minus b over m. That also breaks down to y divided by m minus b over